Welcome.
Thank you.
Dr. Doolittle, Dr. Madeleine. Tell us about neuroscience and Satir in the Centre.
So it's threefold. So there's the neuroscience and the work of Virginia Satir, and then there's the Centre. And I combined all three over the years to create this new model. And it differs in some ways because, well, in many ways, particularly what we're looking at is creating safety. Not just safety in between the therapist and the client, or between the therapist and the patient, but we're actually transforming in the Centre ways that people have been keeping safe, because they become the problem. Initially, they were a very, very important way of keeping safe from some trauma or some childhood experience. And so we literally look at how people are keeping safe. And then they look at how that's been helpful and the special gifts that have come from that. And then they're able to transform their ways of keeping safe that they've been using for years.
So what came first for you in this process?
Centre came first. Mm-hmm. I was given a great big kindergarten sandbox when I was a counsellor in Vancouver, and I didn't know what to do with it, so I started to learn. And I wasn't content with just sitting and watching and just being a silent witness. I wanted to do more, and then I was introduced to the work of Virginia Satir, and I then started to integrate it. And then the third component, neuroscience, came a little bit later when I started to write the book, Where Words Can't Reach, Neuroscience and Satir in the Centre.
And do your PhD.
Then the PhD followed because I wanted to research the impact this had on clients and on therapists.
So for this section of our interview, tell the audience more about each of these areas. So the Centre, start with the Centre.
The Centre is a sacred space, and it has a certain dimensions. And it's about that high. And then the client is invited to choose figurines from many choices. And actually what I say is that the figurines will choose you, because there's an energetic connection between the unconscious memories. It's millions of memories that we don't know about. They're stored, but they're stored in what's called the embodied brain, sort of the right brain in the body.
And that would be the neuroscience part.
That's the neuroscience part, and then that accesses these novel metaphors through the figurines. And people say, I don't know why I chose this, and it's like the figurines have chosen them. Sounds a bit funny, but
it sounds playful.
It is extremely playful and very imaginative and creative. Yeah, absolutely. So it's very suitable for adults and children. And so I might say something like, can you show what it would be like if you didn't feel this way? And for some people that is so beautiful to see, and that there is potential for change.
Right.
And so when they see that, that's what they want, and it's universal for wherever I go in the world. Those are universal yearnings for connection, for respect, and for love.
And the Satir part?
The Satir part is really asking process questions of what's going on internally. But instead of asking the client those questions, we ask questions of the figurine. So how is that little mouse feeling in the jaws of the dinosaur, for example? Or I wonder if the mouse would like to be somewhere else. Can you show me where the mouse would like to be? And if the child, particularly with children, they don't always know how little figurines are feeling, so I will make suggestions. So we're co-creating something here. It's not just simply me sitting and watching, and it's not me telling the client what's going on for them. It's through questions the client is able to become more aware about what's going on for them. And then at the end, we take it out of the Centre.
And the neuroscience part?
Well, that's the novel metaphor that I was talking about, and the transforming of the defences, so that there is an internal sense of safety. It's not just the therapeutic relationship that's safe, but they actually become safe without those old default ways of their behaviours. They don't need them anymore.
First of all in the sand tray. And then
in the sand tray first of all. And then we take it out of the sand tray.
Into them.
And they in conjunction all the time with the body.
Mm-hmm.
So it's connecting the body with what they're seeing. So what happens, I'll say, what happens to you when you see this picture now? What's going on in your body? What is your heart telling you? So they're actually being able to look at what's happening to them physiologically at the same time as they're creating a new way of being for themselves.
And you said deep.
It is deep.
And quick.
And lasting.
And then also lasting.
Yes.
And that comes from your research.
That's the research that at 20 months, people were saying in my research that they had changed permanently. Their back pain had disappeared. In 2 cases, the back pain had disappeared completely.
We're talking physics here. We're talking at a cellular level.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's cellular level. It's called epigenetics. It literally, the research is fairly new, but it suggests that new genes are expressed. It's not new genes are created, but they're expressed, that were already there, so that new neural pathways, new proteins, new neural pathways can be developed. So it's not something you have to remember to do or to think about. It literally is changing it.
It sounds unlikely, but you're saying it happens.
The evidence is such that there is profound lasting change. And some of my participants in the research would say things like, I feel connected to something higher. And they talk about a spiritual connection. And Dan Siegel talks about this too. He's a well-known psychiatrist. And he talks about that when there's energy is able to flow, there's no blockage, then there is this connection to something higher. Mm-hmm. And my evidence in my research would suggest that that's the case too.
Sounds like a kind of release.
It is a release. Everything flows again, and the word would be integrated. Everything is talking. The right brain, the left brain are talking. The brain is talking to the body. All levels of the brain are connected.
So bad stuff can still happen, but the body is ready to react not in a fixed.
In a default way.
Not in a default way, but in an active, participatory.
There's more time to spend to consider, rather than just reacting in the old ways of rage or withdrawal. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.